Hello, good beings, and welcome to Midnight Requiem, Old Wild West. Today we'll be talking about an American legend, a Marshal, Bass Reeves. Arkansas-born Bass Reeves roamed the American West for more than 3 decades, chasing murderers, thieves, and whiskey smugglers. He usually either brought his outlaw in or left him dead. Reeves was born in Crawford County, Arkansas, only to be part of a slave family, and was one of the first African Americans to be commissioned as a U.S. Deputy Marshal in the flatlands west of the Mississippi River. Reeves, although born in Arkansas, severed his ties with the state of Texas. In the 1850s, when an argument over a game of cards with his young master George Reeves turned violent, Reeves pummeled George, who went on to become Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives in 1881, and fled across the border into what was then Indian Territory and now is Oklahoma. Reeves became a lawman in 1874 when Fort Smith, Arkansas Judge Isaac Parker commissioned about 200 deputy marshals to hunt down fugitives who had escaped into Indian Territory. At the time, deputy marshals were cowboy crusaders, the only lawmen authorized to nab violent fugitives in the Indian nations. Among Reeves' most famous exploits was a shootout with notorious horse thief and murderer Jim Webb, who had been on the run for 2 years after killing a black preacher over a minor dispute. The story has Reeves picking off Webb from a quarter mile away, and Reeves needed to be a quick shot. Regularly risking his life was part of the job, according to Brady. The fugitives knew if they were taken in, Judge Isaac Parker was going to hang them. Brady said they'll just as soon have a shootout with the deputies. Reeves' devotion to duty was legendary, historians say. He never rejected an assignment, even arrested his own son on a murder warrant. A story in Muskie Phoenix newspaper on January 15, 1910, lionized the old marshal and said he knew no master but duty. He had such great respect for the law because the law had set him free, said Brady, whose father William Luck traveled with Reeves on several trips into Oklahoma. In 1907, Oklahoma Territory and Indian Territory were united as the state of Oklahoma, which immediately adopted the Jim Crow laws that made blacks second-class citizens throughout the South. The federal marshals were replaced by state authorities. Reeves joined the Muskie police force, working a segregated beat in a segregated city. Bass Reeves worked to bring about law and order to a terrible area, but when a democratic government was set up, it was worse than before for Bass. Brady said, "What a terrible commentary on the progress that is." Bass Reeves, historically noted as the first black deputy U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi River, he worked mostly in Arkansas and the Oklahoma Territory. During his long career, he had on his record more than 3,000 arrests of dangerous fugitives and shot and killed 14 of them in self-defense. Reeves worked for 32 years as a federal peace officer in the Indian Territory and became one of Judge Parker's most valued deputies. Reeves brought in some of the most dangerous fugitives of the time. He was never wounded despite having his hat and belt shot off on separate occasions. In addition to being a marksman with a rifle and a revolver, Reeves developed superior detective skills during his long career. When he retired in 1907, Reeves had on his record over 3,000 arrests of felons. As for the reason of his arrest for his own son for murder, Benjamin Benny Reeves was charged for murder of his own wife. Despite being disturbed and deeply shaken by the incident, Reeves nonetheless insisted on the responsibility of bringing Benny to justice. Benny was subsequently captured, tried, and convicted. He served 11 years at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas before his sentence was commuted. He reportedly lived the rest of his life as a model citizen. Reeves was himself once charged with murdering a posse cook. At his trial before Judge Parker, Reeves claimed to have shot the man by mistake while cleaning his gun. He was represented by former United States Attorney W.H.H. Clayton, who was a colleague and friend. Reeves was eventually believed and acquitted, possibly based on his exceptional record. Reeves' health began to fall further after retiring. He died of Bright disease on January 12, 1910. Bright disease is a historical classification of kidney disease that are described in modern medicine as acute or chronic nephritis. It was characterized by swelling and the presence of albumin in the urine, and was frequently accompanied by high blood pressure and heart disease. Reeves was married twice and had 11 children. In 1864, he married Nell Jenny, and after her death, Winnie Smutter. His children were named Newland Benjamin, George, Lula, Robert, Sally, Edgar, Bash Jr., Harriet, Homer, and Alice. He was a great-uncle of Paul L. Brady, who became the first black man appointed as a federal administrative law judge in 1972. His great-great-grandson is a former National Football League and Canadian Football League player, Willard Reeves, while his great-great-great-grandsons are National Hockey League players Ryan Reeves and CFL player Jordan Reeves. Ryan Reeves' grandfather changed the name from Reeves to Reeves spelled with an E-A. There is a statue dedicated to Bass Reeves in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Historian Art Burton has said that Reeves was the inspiration for the character of the Lone Ranger. Although admits that there is no evidence to support such a claim, Burton makes this argument based on sheer number of people Reeves arrested without taking any serious injury, coupled with the fact that many of these arrested were incarcerated in the Detroit House of Correction, the same city where the Lone Ranger radio plays were broadcast on WXYZ. This theory is disputed. In 2011, the US 62 bridge, which spans the Arkansas River between Mesquite and Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, was named the Bass Reeves Memorial Bridge. In May 2012, a bronze statue of Reeves by Oklahoma sculptor Harold Holden was erected in Pendergraft Park in Fort Smith, Arkansas. In 2013, he was inducted into the Texas Trail of Fame.